episode of Thrones Talk, Season 8, Episode 4. The last of the Starks just finished up. We are jumping on the set here to talk about it. Had a little bit of a pre-production powwow, and this one almost took us longer to figure out how to talk about than last week's episode, and last week's episode was intense enough. This week's episode, a lot of talking, a lot of political maneuvering, and don't lose your head, some people died. So we're going to talk about it all here. Yeah, I know, too soon. We're going to talk about it all here on this episode. So hopefully you've seen the episode. You're joining us here to have a conversation. I'm your host, John Rocha, and I'm joined, as always, by some of my favorite panelists here for Game of Thrones. I'm looking here at Kyle Maddock. He is the host of the podcast of Ice and Fire. How are you, Kyle?
I'm doing really well, John. Thanks for having me. I was going to wear my Lannister shirt today, but I'm very glad I didn't.
Yeah, I hear you. And, of course, the host of What the Throne, that is Dennis Tzeng over there. How are you, Dennis? Have you recovered from this episode?
Recovered? No, but I feel good about this episode.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there for me for this season. It's my favorite one so far. And yeah, it's a little empty in this table.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we Ashley Victoria Robinson is out tonight. She's at another live event. If you're watching her, maybe you're at the show and you're watching this later on. Hey, hope she had a great show. Haley Fouch is out for the next couple of weeks, but she will be back for the finale. So Ashley will be back next week, Haley in 2 weeks. So we're gonna try our best to hold down the fort. We'll do, the guys aren't doing so well at Game of Thrones, but we're gonna do our best while the ladies are out and about. But let's start with this beginning, and it began with the aftermath of the battle. We didn't move ahead in time. It was literally probably the next day, or the next morning rather, and we saw this incredible, David Nutter did a fantastic job directing this episode, but what incredible visuals of these stacks of the dead, and then seeing Dany crying over Jorah, seeing Sansa crying over Theon, and then giving him that pin, that Stark pin, which is really a momentous moment considering all the history that Theon has with the Starks, and then all the main players walked up and lit all these stands with fire. Dennis, you look at this thing. Is this the way you want to start this episode? And what was your reaction as you're watching all of this happening?
Yeah, definitely. It's like what I thought about the beginning of, it's not a big spoiler or anything, but like with Avengers Endgame, right? You need a breath. You need to take a deep breath,
right?
Because a lot of stuff happened in the previous episode. In that case, it was a previous movie. In this one, you don't want to start off with a lot of action or craziness going on. You want to take a moment and realize, all the people that have passed before. And then Jon Snow gives this speech. It's a very good speech.
Very rousing speech.
Yeah. His voice is different though.
Yeah.
I don't know, like he changed it up, made it deeper. He I don't know, was trying to invoke, I don't know, maybe his I guess not his real father, but his Ned Stark. And I like that he gave part of the speech from the Night's Watch. Even though not all of them were from the Night's Watch. So I like seeing that and seeing all the different people. You see Arya over Beric. You saw Sam over Ed, and Jon Snow lit Lyanna's.
Right. We finally got a little last shot of Lyanna. Damn it. Kyle, he did give quite a speech here. John talked about putting aside your differences, talking about how we're going to remember these people as the shields from which we were able to spawn multiple generations, and no one will ever match their sacrifice from today. Did you sense this beginning of this episode was kind of laying the groundwork for this idea of turning the fans into supporting Jon Snow here and moving away from Dany? Because as Dennis said, Jon's voice was a little deeper, a little more commanding, a little more king-like, dare I say it, than we've seen before.
I think that's a very good point. As we learn later in the episode, people starting to see Jon in this position is certainly an important factor for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that's a very good point. He did show that kingliness that he had, and I think it was very important. He showed the epic scope of what they just did. They fought the great evil, and this battle isn't going to be fought again for another 10,000 years or however long it has been. So making sure everyone knows that these people fought this battle that has changed things for a long time to come, I think was really important.
If they survive the Battle of King's Landing, it will echo into multiple generations.
Yeah,
absolutely. As a book reader, and also doing the podcast for so many years, Kyle, what would be your guess that Arya whispered into Jorah's ear there as she was?
You mean Dany?
I'm sorry, Dany whispered into Jorah's ear there as she was talking to him before they lit him on fire.
Oh my gosh! I mean, the sap in me. I want to be like, I love you or something
Yeah,
like that.
right.
Kind of that moment.
But knowing Dany, this version of Dany, do you think there was revenge here, or swear that she'll avenge his death?
I guess she could have done that, but I think she was. I think it was all pure emotion and love in that moment. So I think she sees him. She knows what he's been through, and I don't think she's talking about the future and everything. I think she's thinking about what they've been through. And I think I loved you type of reaction. Even though she couldn't, she says later on, she couldn't love him in the way he wanted. She still loved him.
Right.
So I think.
Well, we speak of Dany, Dennis, this is the first relationship we should tackle here. John and Dany definitely decorated this whole entire episode. We had them having their conversation by themselves in the room there a little bit later because there was a feast and, having fun little exchanges between a number of the characters there, which was great. The Hound and Gendry, of course you want to go talk to Arya, blah, blah, all of that stuff. Davos, once again, crusading against religion with Melisandre. I mean, it was a nice little subtle thing that they were talking about. The drinking game going on with Podrick and with Brienne and Tyrion and Jaime. But later we see John, who's a little drunk. Dany comes to his room and they have a conversation about this whole situation. And she tells him essentially to be silent about his parentage so that she can have a clear path to rule and he won't have any kind of issues and people supporting him won't have any kind of issues with her being in charge. Did this surprise you that she would make this request, swearing people to silence?
Not surprised given Dany's track record in this regard. And yeah, I mentioned this is my favorite episode of the season so far because, as much as I love the battles and stuff, this show to me is more about the political maneuvering. And even in this relationship that's supposed to be a romantic relationship, there's still all this political stuff behind it, And I like that this whole thing with Jon Snow being, I guess, the more rightful heir than Dany is still into play because they could have easily tried and written it out in the first couple episodes and be like, oh, you found out, okay, cool. But there's that paranoia. There's this one shot of Dany during the banquet hall where you see they kind of zoom in on her and her face and her eyes looking at everyone and everyone having a good time, everyone praising Jon Snow and just kind of that, maybe inklings of a beginning of a Mad Queen type of situation where she's super paranoid. She's just saying like, okay, I sacrificed a bunch of stuff for the good of the realm and no one's really giving her much praise for it. Everyone's congratulating Jon Snow. And so she's very fearful, and that leads to that conversation. And Jon Snow, of course, is like, look, this is not what I want. I don't want to be king. I bend the knee to you, et cetera, et cetera. But then that leads into the whole thing about revealing his true parentage to Arya and Sansa.
She does make this switch there as soon as she's, very emotional, very much in love, saying she loves him. Jon stops them kissing, Kyle, and then she makes this request of him. And then when he doesn't 100% agree with this and even says, I have to tell Arya and Sansa, she changes almost immediately and becomes the more steely ruler that she is. And we found out way later at the end of the episode or near the end of the episode, how Varys says that she is stronger than Jon, her willpower. She will bend Jon to his will. And even in that scene, we see Jon literally bend the knee to Dany in that scene. So we have a very powerful, she tries this political maneuvering in the feast when she names Gendry the Lord of a Storm's End, I think. All of this trying to curry favor with the lords of the North. But then, as Dennis points out, she has this moment where she's looking around and she feels left out. Tormund is kissing Jon's ass. Her hand to the Queen. Tyrion is drinking with Jaime. There's all this going on. So is she right to feel this way? The paranoia and the fear and the concern and the worry. She's a young person still in power here, not having had to deal with the lords of the North. Does this behavior seem logical to you in this moment, in these scenes?
I can totally understand the fear.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a girl who has gone through some horrible, horrible things and kept picking herself back up by the bootstraps, and getting this army and doing all this to come back and take what's rightfully hers. And she comes back and all of a sudden now there is a major kink in the plan that she could not have foreseen.
Right.
And so I think the fear is legitimate. And especially when she is sitting in that room and they are all praising him.
Yeah.
And he is gathering these friends just naturally that she can't hope to challenge.
Right.
So I definitely see her. I see the fear making sense for what she's going through.
Yeah, and I wonder, because the show seemed to be kind of fostering that belief that she could be the Mad Queen at any moment and moving towards validating Jon a bit more through the characters. This was surprising to me. It seemed like the show decided to choose a side in this episode, and it may be just messing with us as fans watching it, but it certainly feels like the show went in this direction. And Kyle, let me get your thoughts here. We go to a family reunion with Jon and Arya. Jon, Arya, and Sansa and Bran, and this occurs after they have these battle plan talks, and we find out how decimated the army really is, and the maneuvering here. Sansa pushes back on Dany wanting to go now, saying that the people need to rest, her soldiers need to rest.
Yep.
She says, I came here for a reason. They have an exchange of a look, then Dany walks off, and Arya confronts Jon, who said, we'll do what you say, Queen, we'll do what you say, trying to like keep the peace. But then we have this family meeting out there by the tree again, that damn tree, and we have this idea, we have this thing where Arya and Sansa almost validate Dany's concerns to be suspicious.
Let me catch on something you said a little bit before I address that. You said how devastated the army is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem as devastated as I thought it was going to be. They lost half their troops.
Right.
It sure seemed like they lost about
way
90%.
more. Way more.
90%
They're
of
like
their
half the
troops.
Unsullied. I was like, I don't remember seeing half the Unsullied armor still around. They're like, oh, half the Dothraki. I'm pretty sure most of them died.
Yeah, exactly. They're pulling away half. I'm like, let's pull away a few more off this table.
Well, I say decimated because like they're equal, where it seemed overwhelmingly they had the odds in their favor.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's equal, so that feels devastating.
No, it definitely
to them.
was.
Yeah.
I'm with Kyle, where like I thought watching last week's episode was worse than they made it out to be.
Well, we've got Dorne.
They did mention
I told you.
They're not sending any troops.
Dorne is coming, I'm telling you.
No, we're never going to see Dorne again in this one.
And this was an interesting moment, though. We got Arya very much and Sansa very much in the Stark line. And then Bran totally screws Jon over by going, it's your choice, son. I don't have to say, it's your choice.
Well, yeah, he was backing up.
Right?
He's like, I got nothing to do with this.
I thought you didn't care, Bran.
It's really interesting because they're trying to make this family thing. And of course, Jon has the secret that he's not. But he is. He's a cousin.
He's family.
He's a cousin, but he's not a brother.
Right.
A brother. And so, I don't know. This scene kind of tugged at my heartstrings. Just seeing all four of the surviving Starks.
Great point.
There, and so soon after we had seen Sansa put the pin on Theon before he was gone, it was pretty emotional. But it was I don't know.
Are you concerned that, it seemed to be that they validated, what I'm getting at is that they validated Dany's concern here because Arya said, we did need her. You did the right thing, Jon. You got the dragons. And Jon almost unwittingly is like, yeah, I did. Wait. And then walks into this whole thing where Arya is saying, and now we need to do this. So it's almost, everyone seems to be in a political position all the time except Jon. Jon is about everyone, like what's best for everything, and everyone else is angling for their position and power. And it struck me here in this scene how Arya, even, who really shouldn't care one way or the other because she's very much an assassin, now wants to maneuver Jon into this position as well and don't trust Dany. And then they're refusing to get to know her. This is a surprise.
Well, I think it's kind of good that they're setting up this sort of kind of rivalry between them, because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm talking to my friends about who's going to sit on the throne, everybody's like, well, just have them get married, and everything is solved.
Yes.
Everything is solved. So I think the general public has been thinking that for quite a while now.
Right.
And the fact that now all of a sudden we have Varys and Tyrion later on saying like, that wouldn't work. She just controls him.
Yeah.
She's more powerful in that way, and he's gonna bend to her.
Right.
I think it's good that they're setting that up. So we can't just sit back and be like, oh, okay, when are they gonna get married? Let's just wait for this to happen and everything will be hunky-dory. Well, it's not gonna be, as we're finding out.
Yeah, and it felt like that the show did a good job of addressing all these possible angles that people have been expressing for a number of seasons now with this situation. And Dennis, we had Jon and Tormund saying goodbye, Samuel and Gilly saying goodbye to Jon as well. am I wrong to have this weird feeling that John could be dying? Would this be the swerve that they do at the end? And this is how Dany finds herself as the ruler here. Could John die in service of Dany becoming the queen?
It's quite possible. I've been always theorizing one of those two are going to die. There's no way they can both live happily ever after, have kids, and then live on the Iron Throne, because this is Game of Thrones, right? So it's possible, but we also saw kind of a swerve though with Grey Worm. Remember his speech with Missandei, and then I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're going to get there later, but with what happened with him and Missandei, they set it up like, oh, he's gonna die, and then they did a reversal. So we don't know if this case, maybe they're setting up John to die, make it look like he's gonna die, and then Dany ends up sacrificing herself to save John. I don't know. One of those two is a goner.
Yeah, it just feels that way. Like we're starting to, and this is what George R.R. Martin always does. Like as soon as you start to cheer for somebody, they're dead. And so you wonder if the writers are taking, Benioff and Weiss rather, are taking a little bit of a cue from George R.R. and throwing this idea out there by making it seem as if John's the right choice to be king. But then these goodbyes are, even with Ghost, he doesn't go up and pet Ghost for one last time.
I got mad at John when that happened. I was like, bullshit. Look, Ghost, he's all scratched up. He's missing half an ear, and you're just gonna be like, oh, just take Ghost too. Just take him beyond the wall. He'll be happy where there's absolutely no food that he can run around and eat in the frozen north. Doesn't even go over and pet him. Like, come on, that's your dog. He was literally on the front line of battle for you last week, and you just don't even scratch him under the ear. I hated that.
This is what was interesting too, was that I just felt that way to me. Like these are final goodbyes from John. Tormund was even more emotional at that in there, and Sam and Gilly. Even Sam saying, "You're the best friend I ever had." It's almost like he even senses John might die in this battle, in this fight. And I wonder if this is the swerve that may be coming.
I got a feeling that it was a goodbye because I have to go rule the kingdom, sort of thing.
Right, okay.
Or I'm gonna be down in King's Landing taking care of everything. I'm not just at the wall anymore, just hanging out with my friends and my dog.
It just felt so final, Kyle. You didn't sense that?
Well, it did, because not in a death way to me. I did not sense that. I sensed it in a final way of, hey, I've got to go down there and take care of bigger things than my friendships.
Right.
And we've had a wonderful journey, and I'm probably not going to see you again for a very, very long time. So it's goodbye for the foreseeable future and for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I think it was more of a goodbye for the show versus, I mean, potentially if he does die, then yes, he won't see those characters again. But let's say he lives, that this is just for the way for the fans to see that goodbye between him and Sam, who, started out together at Castle Black, and then him and Tormund, which, that relationship was, it's gone from like him just kind of making fun of him when he had joined the wildlings of the Free Folk. Why are the Free Folk not helping to fight?
Why are they wandering up north? Why are they going up north to just hang out?
Their land's free of the evil guy now, so they can just head back home. Thanks for helping us out.
See ya.
Thanks for everything you got for us.
Well, because that's the whole idea of the Free Folk, is that they're not playing this Game of Thrones. They don't care who's sitting on a chair. Their land is free. They had to leave because there was an evil dude up there.
Right.
That's been taken care of. They helped fight that battle, and now they're gonna head back home, I guess.
There's quite a lot of people that agree with you, Kyle, that he should have petted Ghost. And they're a little upset. Mark M. Why didn't he pet him? Exactly. Ken from Chicago says John threw Ghost to the wolves. There it is. That's a good one there. Some people are complaining a little bit about the episode, a little bit about the writing, but we'll address that as we go along, possibly. Let's move on to Tyrion. This situation with Tyrion, he had great scenes with Varys, with Sansa, with Dany, and then with Jaime and Bronn, and then Davos, of course. But let's deal with the Varys ones first. These are interesting because of what they lay the groundwork for when they start out having these conversations about Jon's parentage. Oh, by the way, never tell a secret in Winterfell. It gets around. What a shock. As soon as Sansa said, oh yeah, I promise. I knew it. She was the first one who was going to betray. You knew Arya wouldn't do it. It would have to be Sansa, of course. And that's what I think is interesting. As I said earlier, everyone is has their political maneuvering, political machinations. What has Game of Thrones always shown us? The one who doesn't, like his supposed dad, Ned Stark, gets their head chopped off. Jon isn't like that, and that may be why Jon gets consumed by this Game of Thrones. That's my thing. And even Sansa makes a little hint to it by saying, the males in my family don't fare well at King's Landing. And so there's a little bit of there too. But anyway, Tyrion with Varys, all the back and forth here, that progresses from conversations about what they should do with this information, who should know it, what they should do with Dany, how they should handle Dany, to where we get to the end where they're both essentially talking treason here, Dennis. Yeah. And Varys, without saying a word, implies that somehow Dany should die.
Yeah. And that he may be plotting something or has something already in motion.
Yes.
I don't know, poisoning her or taking her out in some regard.
Yeah.
But even thinking of, I guess, because he's concerned with the people that are going to be in the Red Keep that are innocent, that are going to die. But it just seems like it might even be too late for that, unless he plans on something happening during the actual battle. But maybe later on he plans on doing something about it. But I mean, this whole episode is about like loyalties and where you fall on that. And this is another one where Tyrion is being loyal to Daenerys. He sees her faults, but he believes that she can overcome them and with the right guidance. And Varys that ship has sailed for him because he's always loyal to the realm. And, now he's thinking, okay, let's get Jon Snow up in there. So, there's going to be a wrench thrown in next week.
There was a terrific scene between the two. There was just... The acting I thought was fantastic in the scene. You could tell these two people who had believed in somebody for so long and they've been on such a journey with her are now starting to doubt this. And Tyrion even says it himself. It's like, it's not treason to think.
Right.
Not treason to think about a better ruler.
Because Varys confronts him and says, I'm sure you've thought about this.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, hold on. But just to see the pain and the anguish of, is she turning into this evil person? And I know a lot of the viewers have been saying that for seasons, but these characters are starting to see that might be true.
Right.
And they're starting to flip, and just the inner turmoil, the saying without saying, I think was a wonderful scene. And we also finally get somebody mentioning she's his aunt.
Yes.
How's that going to work out? And we get it doesn't matter with Targaryens. We can move on.
Right, with Targaryens, but certainly not with the North, which is a great thing that Varys brings up and says, look, they don't marry their aunts in the North. The Targaryens may do that stuff, but the Lords of the North are not going to be down with this idea. If Jon is going to marry Dany, that won't work either, especially if they find out that Jon has a stronger claim to the throne. And I want to go back to a moment in the feast real quick. Do you think that Dany was trying to infer something when she called out Gendry, when she mentioned that he is Robert Baratheon's son, and then hands him the Lord? Do you think she was trying in a way to kind of lay the groundwork of like she can decide who is what in her kingdom, showing that it's okay, that this is her way around it? Like, hey, Jon isn't going to rule, I will rule now.
I think it's multiple things. I think that's part of it too. Like, with Tyrion saying, okay, you're doing currying favor with a very popular person that has a name now that people know. And so I think it's for multiple reasons. Yeah, one, stating like, hey, over here, I'm still the queen.
Yeah.
And only I can do these things. And then two, yes, getting a loyal subject who, immediately rushes to Arya to ask for a hand in marriage.
Right.
I love that callback to where she's like, oh, she kisses him, but she says, that's not for me.
Right.
Being a lady, it calls back to that conversation she has with Ned Stark in season 1.
Right.
So yeah, I think she did it for multiple reasons.
Yeah. And poor Gendry. We'll see if he survives the heartbreak. Bro, we've all been there. We've all said too much to that incredible woman that you're dating, and you just say too much in that moment, and she goes, you know what? It was great dating you. This is over. So we've all been there. It happens. It's part of being young.
He's going to do all right.
Yeah, he's going to be all right.
He's got abs. He has a castle. He has a last name. I think he's going to do all right. I'm not too worried about Gendry.
Look at the positives, Gendry. Look at the positives. Tyrion also has these great scenes with Sansa where he kind of calls her out a little bit and says, it seems you are determined to hate Dany. This is a mistake, Dennison. Do you wonder, I have this weird thought because both Jon and Dany is driven by her emotions. Jon, too much nice. Could both of these people clash, die, Cersei dies, and maybe Sansa is the one on the throne at the end of this whole nutty thing? We see her becoming more and more aware of her power as a person in the North, as a lady of the North, but also possibly all around. Do you sense that this is something with this interaction between Tyrion and Sansa that lays the groundwork for that?
I mean, there's definitely an outside shot of that. I'm guessing. I mean, if I had to put money on it, it's going to be either Jon Snow or Daenerys. I do think she will get to be Wardess of the North. I don't know if they will separate themselves, because if like Dany gets the throne and say Jon Snow dies, then obviously there's friction in that relationship, and maybe she says, "Look, we won't bother you, but the North is ours," type of situation. We're with Jon Snow. If Jon Snow becomes king, then there's nothing she can say, and she will, obviously let the North be part of the whole realm.
But even Sansa can't keep a secret from Tyrion. And Tyrion,
she's sending ravens everywhere. Sansa's got all the ravens being sent out everywhere.
I'm a bit confused of Sansa here. I don't know what her end game is.
Right.
And now, obviously, I'm getting hints of Littlefinger training here, where she's just sort of seeding seeds of chaos as a ladder.
Well, Littlefinger
she's sowing the
Cersei?
seeds of chaos.
Cersei, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But so she's building herself up to. I don't know. Does she want to sit on the throne like you're suggesting here?
I think
I'm not quite understanding
she wants
her
Jon
motivation.
to sit on the throne, and if not Jon, her.
Okay.
Because this thing that when they have that little family get together, this whole idea of family, by the way, that can be one of the most dangerous and best things doing for the family. If you're sacrificing or your morals or your principles for the family, there's a whole nother game that's being played here. And only when it's convenient for your family to rule or come out on the side better than, that's where it gets a little concerning. And so I see Sansa kind of, she knows Jon, she knows herself. And just like most people who think they should rule, I can do it better than anybody else. I won't fall into the traps. And you see that with this interaction with Sansa and Tyrion. The fact that she's willing to tell Tyrion this secret that she had told Jon she wouldn't tell people, she's now spreading it all around. And I wonder if her game in the end is to find a way to that throne so that she can secure her family's future and survival, if nothing else.
It must be. She's definitely undermining Dany at every turn she can.
Yes.
I mean, telling the Hand of the Queen that the guy she loves has a more rightful claim to her is huge. Yeah. That's a massive move.
Right. And there's no way we have this treason talk later on if she doesn't tell Tyrion, who tells Varys.
Right.
Yeah, once that's, gossip.
And she knows. Sansa knows what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
She's the smartest person I know.
Well said. All right, Dennis, let's get to this. Bronn showing up out of nowhere to confront Jaime and Tyrion. I guess he showed up just a day late to the battle.
How did he get into the castle? That's what I want to know. That's my big question about Bronn just showing up.
He's a crafty little guy there, Bronn. He's like, he probably saw that whole battle from a safe place.
Yes.
He probably watched that whole battle with the Night King.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I'm going to wait till this is done, then I'll figure out what I'm going to do afterwards. Slides in there, confronts them. Dennis has this back and forth. We all kind of suspect that he wouldn't kill them, but he certainly played the cards. He certainly played his advantage that he had and trades in Riverrun for Highgarden, which is a hell of a trade up. And they go along with it, Tyrion and Jaime. Jaime begrudgingly, but certainly Tyrion does.
This is probably my biggest complaint of the whole episode. I didn't really care for it just because, they had set up this whole thing with Bronn and Cersei, and everyone was questioning her choice of that. And unless they reveal later some other reason why she did it, because sending him there, you knew he was going to make some sort of deal like that. And then it just was very quick and, kind of out of nowhere and very, cut and dry. And so I don't think there was a lot of thought, at least unless they revisit it again.
Yeah.
It just seems there wasn't a lot of thought into the execution of that scene and how it's going to play out later. Because if it's literally just him, if that's it, then it was kind of purposeless.
It was weird,
Yeah.
because he says his fighting days are over, Kyle. So what does that mean? He's not going to take part in this battle?
Yeah, he's not going to do any. I think now he's, instead of fighting with the sword, he's fighting with his words now.
Right.
And he's planting these seeds, do these things and whatnot. And while I enjoyed this scene because it felt very Branish, which was amusing and fun, I thought. I think they're just doing it just so that this actor stays on the payroll, stays on the show. Because they could have written out Bran this whole season, and I don't think it would make much of a difference.
Great point.
But he's part of the cast, and it's bad to see him go because we've had so much fun. So I think they're doing it to keep him on board, but I don't know how it's going to play out, and it doesn't feel very significant.
Well, it's weird too because you have this situation where both the actor playing Bran and Lena Headey who's playing Cersei have something in their contracts where they cannot have a scene together.
Oh yeah,
because they have deep hatred for each other because they used to date a long time ago.
He was at the premiere and she wasn't.
You're right. Yeah. It's that kind of thing. Listen, I had friends go through a divorce. We had to figure out who could go to what, and it feels that way here in this kind of situation too. And it feels that way like with. So I wonder if Bran is just like you said, they know that they have a great character in him. They're just going to throw him a scene or two every once in a while to keep you still thinking about him, but they won't have him be anywhere near the Cersei situation, and maybe he shows up. If they do defeat Cersei and kill Cersei, maybe he shows up afterwards to collect, right? On a nice, cute little scene with Bran.
Just pointless.
It is, right? It is because he's such a great character and such a great warrior. Remember, he saved Jaime from the dragon, so there's more here to play.
I mean, he seemed a lot more evil in this scene than he. I mean, we know he's not a good guy. We know that he's all about the money and whatever. But his interactions with Jaime and Tyrion lend themselves to that he has more than just that, right? That he is about that, but he still values their friendship up to a point. And this one, it just seemed like, hey, this is just all business, man, and like, okay. So I don't know. Just it didn't resonate with me.
Okay. So. Some people are Joshua Mowdy's like Bran should kill the Mountain as he did not fight for Tyrion. But I'm like, no, the Clegane Bowl is in play.
We got Sandor hidden down.
Yeah, we got that's coming. That's coming. Let me see if there's anything else here with Tyrion. It's on Bronze. Okay, well, let's move on to Jaime and Brienne. This happened. We thought we had the surprise with Gendry and Arya. Now we have Jaime and Brienne. People have been clamoring for this. Ooh. I'll be honest with you. This is something that I didn't 100% need. And I liked the idea of it being unrequited for the rest of the series. And the reason is because if you're going to show me Brienne getting her heart broken again, giving her love out to Baratheon, Renly, and then having it be destroyed, and then once again giving her heart out or herself, literally physically, to Jaime, and then having Jaime run away to go confront Cersei. I didn't understand the point of having them consummate this relationship other than fan service, and that's dangerous.
Yes, that is dangerous because he did break her heart there.
Right.
We get this feeling, I mean, we've had this feeling and lead up that they love each other for the longest time. And all of a sudden now we have this moment and we're like, they do. And then they just rip it right away from us and from them. And like you said, that's dangerous. That's right. I think people are going to be really upset.
Yeah, what did you think about this, Dennis? Did you want to see them getting together?
No, not really. I mean, just because we knew that she loved him and then we knew he loved her in a more respectful way, that he respected her, right? And so I don't think we needed to see them consummate the relationship. And then and then when he leaves and she keeps saying you're a good man, and he's like, I'm not, because people had talked about the second episode where it was almost like a trial of Jaime Lannister and all the things he's done. He says all the stuff that he had done that weren't acts of a good man. And so going back to Cersei to protect her, I assume. Some people are saying he's going to kill her. I don't know. It seemed more like he was going there to protect her.
Maybe it felt like he was going to reason with her, maybe, possibly, which is always the mistake of all the Lannister men with Cersei, is trying to reason with her. It never really works out.
And it's also his child.
Yes.
That's part of the equation here.
Right.
Which I think is part of the reason why he wants to protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally get him, a little switch of topic here, we finally get him admitting out loud that he pushed Bran off the tower. I think it's the first time that he's done that.
Other than apologizing to Bran, yes. The first time he's actually described it.
Yeah, to somebody who didn't know about it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but F Jaime right now,
but we have
gosh.
Brienne being knighted last week. I think that was enough.
Yes.
And then having her, or the 2 weeks ago, and then having her in the battle, surviving the battle, that was great. have her set up for something else. We see her and later we see her and Sansa having a conversation when we find out what happened, which we'll get to when we find out what happened with Euron and everything. So she still has her connection to Sansa.
Yep.
There is a role that she could have played without having to consummate the situation with Jaime. Even in the moment when she stopped him, I thought she was going to be like, no, that's not for me. Kind of would have thrown this whole thing on its head to have her say, I don't want to sleep with you. It was never like that for me, because she already broke Tormund's poor crying heart who went crying to the Hound. So to have her come out even more powerfully and be like, no, this is what I am. I'm a warrior. I'm this, almost like Arya, but in a different way, saying I'm a warrior and this is what I do. But this is not something I want to consummate. Although I do love you as a human and as a person, and think the best of you, I don't have to give myself to you. So I found that quizzical, right? That they would bring up her virginity that Tyrion did in the drinking game, and then have her have sex with Jaime. It just seemed a little weird
just
to me.
To break her heart, yeah.
Yeah, to break her heart.
Was Jaime ever in love with her, or has he just been lusting after her since the bath scene?
Right.
No, I mean, they've never thrown any indication that he loves her in a romantic way.
Right.
It seems more of this respect. Remember, he lets her go at River Run. Like, it's just more of this honor thing, right?
Yeah.
And so they've never really indicated that. From her, you could tell. From him, not so much. And so, not to say this came out of nowhere, obviously, but it was just more an answering of a question that I don't think we necessarily need an answer to.
Is this setting up this sort of redemption of Jaime, where he takes care of his business there and somehow ends back with Brienne? Like, is that okay?
Well,
or is that ship sailed now?
I think that ship sailed.
Well, if anything, it could set up the possibility of Brienne killing Cersei, right? If Cersei kills Jaime, because it seems like so many people could kill Cersei at any moment.
I think the fans now would say, well, fuck it, whatever. She's going to kill Jaime. Why are you going to avenge him? This guy just broke your heart.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, why are you going to avenge we'll see. But Jaime's not the only one heading off to King's Landing. So is Arya and the Hound. We see them meet up there on the road. But before then, Sansa and the Hound have a nice conversation there. Well, nice, I wouldn't say nice, but they have an honest conversation in that feast earlier. And it's a really telling conversation where the Hound says, "Oh, you wouldn't have done all this, my little flower, if this
little bird,
if this hadn't happened." And Sansa pushes back at him and not validating what she went through, but more saying like, well, I wouldn't have become the woman I am. I would still be the little bird if I hadn't gone through the things I'd gone through. I felt that was a really powerful moment for Sansa as a character and for Sophie Turner, who really did great work tonight as an actress in this episode. I thought that was a nice, powerful moment. It's not saying that anything you go through, rape and what have you, is something you should go through, but she said, I took the lessons from this and came out stronger, and that's something really powerful, a powerful message maybe to send out.
It is certainly a powerful message, and it's a true life message. I mean, everything, all the bad times and hard things that we do go through, make us the person that we are today,
and harden us at times so that we can handle it next time.
Absolutely.
Right.
I got to say, the Sansan fans are probably so happy that this actually happened. They were terrified they were never even going to talk to each other. But here they are, and they do reference the scene during the Battle of Blackwater and everything. So it was nice to see them two finally have an interaction.
Yeah.
And there was no hookup or anything like that, like some fans are dying to have.
What?
Yeah,
the Hound and Sansa?
Oh my gosh, you didn't know this?
No.
Oh,
What's wrong with you people? No way that was ever good. I would buy Theon and Sansa before. I never buy her.
Not so much in the show, I guess, but in the books, it's sort of a little thing kind of going on.
Oh, interesting.
Well, or people are just building up, out of a little tiny nugget of
what
scene,
fans do that? No
fans
way.
Don't do that.
No
what are you
way.
talking about? But the fact that this happened was nice. It's nice that they actually acknowledged each other because the Hound could have significantly changed Sansa's entire life.
Yeah.
If she had just go, okay, I'll go with you.
Yeah. Right.
And he gave her that opportunity, or at least offered that.
Right, he did.
At that moment.
Yeah, but she, obviously she was a different person then.
Right, she wasn't ready to take the job.
Not only that, she looked at him and it was his physical appearance that she didn't trust, and that's why, counter to that, she's like looking at him straight in the face,
and saying, "I've seen things worse than you."
Yes, even grabs his hand, holds his hand for a little bit, really and says, So I think that was a nice moment.
Yeah, it makes me want to rewatch the scene during Battle of Blackwater if she kind of cowers away from his scars and his face.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to rewatch that.
You never know. Everyone's getting their resolution as we head towards the end of this series.
And then Arya goes off with the Hound.
Yeah. Back together again,
Yes.
Arya.
One of my
and the
favorite
Hounds.
pairings.
Yes. Yeah. Her with a lot stronger position now.
Yes.
Almost equal. I mean, Maisie Williams almost looked equal to the Hound in terms of the way she was carrying herself, the way she was riding that horse. It was not the little girl that the Hound was having to kind of protect at times. She was very commanding
She
of her
did kill the
space.
Night King, which he mentioned.
That's true.
And then, she's like, "You're the hero," and she's like, "I don't really care much for being the hero."
I love that.
Yeah, and then he's going down south, going, "I have unfinished business." She says, "Me too. I'm not coming back. Me too."
Wow.
So.
What does that mean? Do you think Arya is going to die as well, or do you think
no, her plan was. I think her plan is to go down there and kill Cersei.
Right, but
I don't know. No, I mean,
But she
not
wouldn't come
necessarily.
back to King's Landing?
Maybe not. I mean,
Okay.
remember, she's an assassin. Now.
Right.
She's not. It's fine. She still loves her family. She loves Jon Snow. She loves Sansa. She loves Bran. But never wants to be, much like with the Gendry proposition, she doesn't want to be at a castle, sitting there, doing, lord and lady things.
Yes.
Right?
It's not her jam.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's what I got more out of it.
She's very much I believe at the end of the story, a walk off into the sunset type of character.
Yeah.
Just go. She has things to do out in the world. Well, I think she's going to figure out.
But would the show would it be a bit of a cop out if Arya killed the Night King and Cersei? Would that be a little bit
I
of a
think
cop
so.
out?
I think it'd be too much,
Right?
and I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
I don't either, but when I think about it logically, I feel like her training and everything would make it so easy for her to she could just go. She could go into King's Landing as just a no one.
Yes.
and easily probably get into the services in the castle somewhere and
point.
just take her out. Like it
Right.
seems much easier for her to kill Cersei than I would have thought her to kill the Night King.
I mean, she took care of the entire Walder Frey family by herself.
Yeah.
She cooked those sons up and had him pulled a Titus Andronicus for you Shakespeare fans over there, and had him eat his sons in essence in the meat pie.
Now I wouldn't mind see her try and Cersei get her.
That's what I wonder about.
Now I think that would be rather intriguing.
Is this how we get the Clegane Bowl? That the mountain stops her and the Hound then
Maybe
is there.
the Mountain King, yeah.
That's how we get the
Yeah.
Clegane Bowl, don't you think? Is that
Okay.
possible?
Oh, I think the Hound's just going to kick down the door and say, "Let's fight."
No, but that makes sense. I mean, Hound has always had a soft spot for Stark women,
Yes.
and then if Arya gets killed by the Mountain,
Oh yeah.
who he already wants to kill anyways, that's a more reason for it.
Or certainly comes close to death, and the Hound comes in, and that we'll see what happens. How the Clegane Bowl happens, I don't care how it happens, as long as it does happen.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the fans feel that way because don't give me Jaime and Brienne sleeping, and not give me the Clegane Bowl. I'll take the Clegane Bowl over that any day. All right, speaking of King's Landing, let's get to it. That's how we should wrap up this episode, talking about everything that happened here after some. Some battles verbally about how we should conduct this battle. Dany wins out, and everyone's in position and moving towards where they should go to King's Landing. And then we're just seeing these dragons happily flying through the air and out of nowhere. And I swear, I was literally 2 seconds away from saying, doesn't Qyburn still have those arrows that he can shoot to kill the dragons? And boom, there it was, right in the heart. 3 of them right into the ocean. Rhaegal gone. Drogon, the last dragon, left that's alive. And so Dany, completely angry, turns, sees Euron's entire fleet, and they all have these dragon killing mechanisms, which is brilliant, by the way, very brilliant by the writers to put that in there. And we see Dany going, in essence, into a standoff, going right at each other, and she pulls up and away when she sees all those arrows come at her, those large arrows coming at her, and swings and flies away. But they end up destroying the fleet. Tyrion jumps out into the water. We see Grey Worm come out. We see Varys come out. We see Tyrion come out. We see a bunch of these other people wash ashore, but we don't see Missandei. Grey Worm jumps back into the water to try to get her, and then we find out later, of course, where she is. Let's just start with this. Did you like this twist in the moment, Dennis, that Euron was there waiting for him? Because we heard that Yara had taken back the Iron Islands. So did you like this?
I did, because remember, we've seen how devastating the dragons can be,
Right.
Even just having one. So when, obviously when they had 3, it was like, okay, you don't even need that big of an army to take over. You lose 1, now you lose 2, now you have 1 left. and so I like that, and I just like now that we're getting into this phase. This is why I mentioned kind of last week. It's like the Battle of Winterfell was fine. The Whites and the White Walkers and the Night King. That's cool. Not always my favorite part of it of the entire series. This is what I'm more looking forward to, and that standoff between them at the Red Keep, Cersei and her army in the Red Keep, and then Dany and her very small army. There was one of the most tension-filled moments of the entire episode.
And we get there through the stuff that Euron does and destroying that entire fleet. And then we have just one dragon sitting way in the back there, just kind of waiting to set fire to everything. And this back and forth happens only after Varys and Tyrion tell Dany not to go full bore in there and set the whole place on fire because you don't want to turn the populace against you. And the reason she has everybody in the Red Keep is to make it seem as if you do something, you'll come off as the bad guy in the end. And so have a offer peace or offers her, try to get her to surrender. That way the people know that you made every effort not to kill them, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, Kyle, this completely backfires as we have Qyburn and Tyrion come out, have a conversation. Qyburn doesn't seem to want to have any kind of reasoning with Tyrion. Tyrion walks past Qyburn, has all the arrows almost unleashed on him. Nice move by Cersei. That was brilliant. And then Tyrion delivers a really emotional plea and an effective plea initially that eventually Cersei, after getting a little bit emotional, steals herself back up and then orders the death of Missandei. What was your reaction to all of this?
I thought it was very smart on Tyrion's part to appeal to the child.
Yes.
He knows that's what she cares about. Let's go right there because she doesn't care about anything else.
Right.
So I thought that was very smart on his part. But also, if it backfires, she's going to get probably even more angry that you bring up the child than it would if you were just insulting her or something like that. So, I enjoyed the scene. I thought for a split second that Tyrion was going to switch or something because he had just had that conversation with Varys,
right?
And we left with him not knowing what to do,
right?
And I didn't know what he was going to say, who was going to throw under the bus, what he had concocted. He ended up just kind of sticking to the plan as is, but holy cow, all of this was cool, and of course, Missandei was just heartbreaking.
Well, and this is such a great, I wouldn't say great, but such an interesting decision by the writers to make the switch. We thought last episode it was going to be Grey Worm, absolutely, because he'd done the whole, we're going to get a house together. We thought for sure it was going to be Grey Worm, and it ends up being Missandei. To me, this was a little difficult too, because once again, this violence towards women that the show has had to fight off for quite some time. Here we go again with her getting beheaded in front of everybody. I get it that you're trying to stimulate Dany to go insane or get emotional, maybe become the Mad Targaryen, the Mad Queen again, or the Mad Queen rather, like her lineage might indicate. But in this moment, I was so surprised that they decided to go this route. Dennis, were you surprised by it? Did you like it, or do you think it's effective?
Yeah, I think it was effective because remember, in going back to the beginning of this episode, right, with Dany feeling like an outsider and having no one left. Remember, she just lost her most important ally that she trusts the most, which is Jorah. And then now Missandei dying is another one, and so now she's got
Oh yeah.
So there's no turning back because remember she didn't even want to have this kind of attempt at this truce, right? She's like, I just want to go kill. Like she does care about the people, but she cares more about her destiny. Cersei doesn't care about the people at all,
right? Which Tyrion tells her,
and that's why Tyrion at the very end he's pleading. I mean, I thought it was tension filled because I was like, is Tyrion gonna get hit with an arrow or something?
Yep.
Or 20?
Yeah. And so for Daenerys, it's like she doesn't care. I mean, that's the last straw for her. She's gonna go full on, like she's gonna burn the whole thing down.
Yeah, I think they are effectively building her up to lose her shit, to just go crazy. They take away Jorah, then they take away Rhaegal, then they take away her best friend Missandei, and just like I would believe it if she just jumped on the dragon, flew over, and just burnt it right there.
Yeah.
I could see that, and then obviously everything would turn against her.
Kyle, I would pile on the Dothraki. She lost all the Dothraki, a lot of the Unsullied. She has paid the ultimate price almost for this war. The Night King War, and then now this war for the throne. She has suffered more losses than anyone else from her side of things, you know, and that's what I come back to. And I found myself against Dany through this whole episode until this moment. When Miss Sunday is beheaded and her reaction, I went, I don't give a crap what Jon Snow does. Burn it to the ground. Burn it all to the effing ground, including her. You know what? You can repopulate it with new people that you're coming with you to repopulate the land all from the beginning. And if they don't want to go with you, burn them. Start all over again. Start all over again. Maybe I'm crazy.
Oh my gosh. Do you think Varys is having internal conflict where he wants to protect those people that are in the Red Keep? He doesn't want them to burn. But at the same time, he knows that if Daenerys just goes crazy and burn them all, then everybody's going to go against her. And they can sort of push Jon into more of the power position type of thing. I'm curious if Varys is having these internal conflicts. Or Varys.
I wonder as well. One other thing to throw in the mix here, Dennis, let's get your thoughts. Tyrion does kind of insist or mention that Bran could be king. Bran could be king because Bran's the last true-born son of Ned Stark.
Oh, you mean Lord of Winterfell?
Lord of Winterfell, right? Could be Lord of Winterfell because his last true-born son of Ned Stark. Is that in play at all? Even though Bran keeps saying he doesn't want to do anything.
No, he's like he has no more wants.
Yeah.
You know, and he lives in the past. So no.
Nobody would ever follow him anyway.
Yeah. I think that will never happen unless Arya, Sansa, and Jon Snow are dead, and then he's like the only Stark left. Then maybe, but other than that, no. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, this is such an interesting episode. We had this idea of Jon being, it looks like Jon should be king. You know, Dany's kind of feeling out of place. You know, she's a little emotional, blah, blah, blah. But then you give her reasons for these reactions. You give her reasons for this anger. And as most people who watch stuff and feel that desire for revenge, you're on Dany's side. When she starts marching back and it goes to black, I was ready. I was like, go, get that dragon and burn it all to the ground.
Well, especially with Sandy's dying word.
Right.
Jacaerys. I mean, there you go. You have your best friend, the girl who's been with you this entire time, being like, burn them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Burn them all.
That's what she's saying, right? So what is going to happen here? Because what is Varys' role to play here? Was Tyrion? I think Tyrion signed his death warrant by going, she's going to make the right decision. I just know she is at the right moment. I think that was Tyrion's death warrant in that exchange with Varys. When he said that, it just felt to me like she's going to let him down, and it's going to cost his life. His belief in her is going to cost his life. If she goes Mad Queen on this and just burns it, who's going to stop her? Is Jon going to die trying to stop her? Is Varys going to die trying to stop her? Who is going to stop her? Is it going to be Arya who kills Dany? Like, there's so much in here now that's in play that I think is exciting. So I know some people wrote in social media, oh, it's not the most interesting, or bashing the. I think actually the writing in this episode was fantastic. I think the episode was fantastic, and I think it opens up so many different avenues for things to, and that's what you want going into next week, which is the penultimate episode of the season, which is always the most interesting episode and blood-soaked episode of every season. So you wonder if now who's going to do what, and all the question marks get you excited.
I think you're absolutely right. This episode did a fantastic job in setting up that this isn't going to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
They're not going to get married and everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Right.
That's not going to happen, like I said earlier. And there's going to be all this other conflict that is going on with this side between Jon and Daenerys, and we don't know how it's going to play out, but it's not going to be good, it seems like. And so I think this episode did a really good job in establishing that is going to be how this is going to play out.
Oh, and also, Dennis, every time she listens to her hands or her advisors, she loses people. Like, at some point, she has to be like, F this. I don't want to listen to anybody. If I had just gone and done what I wanted to do, this could have all been over 2 seasons ago. The fact that I listened to all of you has cost me the Dothraki, the Unsullied, Missandei, two of my 3 dragons, all of this. Why should I listen to anybody anymore?
Well, I mean, the thing is, they're trying to counsel her on how to be a good ruler versus a conqueror, because she's got the conqueror stuff down. She did that in Essos, and so now she's in Westeros, and in a place where she doesn't have the goodwill that she had before, right? The people of Westeros don't know her, right? They just know her as, okay, this is the last Targaryen. She's got dragons, but if she goes in there like she's going to do and kill, let's say she kills all these innocent people, it's just not going to look good on her. And that's why I think Varys' plan is for afterwards, because even still he knows that she's still a better ruler than Cersei would be, so he's got to let that play out, and then perhaps after do something. And then you don't know if Tyrion is, he's loyal to Daenerys. Is he going to tell Daenerys?
Right,
because he's not stupid. He knows that Varys has something planned. He's not telling him this just to tell him, you know? So is that going to come into play in maybe not next episode, or maybe the final episode?
That's what I worry about, because Varys and Tyrion have had such a great relationship. And remember all those scenes in Marine and numerous other places, where they've had a great relationship. Is it Tyrion going to have to kill Varys? His one last trick up his sleeve is Tyrion killing Varys and having his own, what do you used to call him? Those little
birds?
His little birds.
Yeah.
It might be that Tyrion has his own little birds to counter Varys, because that look they had where Varys was essentially insisting or insinuating that Dany should die, Tyrion did not like that at all.
No.
So,
well, I think it was once again, how much I like that scene. I think Varys knows that Tyrion needs to be hand. Like whoever's ruling, Tyrion's a great hand, and we've established that. And so I think Varys is sort of hinting at, hey, this is gonna probably happen.
Yeah,
you need to really think about it, because when it does, I want you to know so you can continue on in that position.
Right, because he does say to Tyrion. Of course, Tyrion says, "Well, we can calm her down." He goes, "You mean like you've done?" Insinuating that he hasn't done it, and she has not listened to him most of the time and gone ahead anyway. I don't know who stops her now, Dennis. We're going into this next episode. Who stops her? John. I don't think even John has the power to stop her at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think John would, unless it's a situation where he sees, a full-on her going crazy and killing. Obviously, with the Red Keep situation, that's a little different, because that's more like collateral damage. It's not like she's going to be like targeting innocent people. It's just they happen to be in there because of what Cersei's doing. I don't see Jon Snow doing that unless he absolutely has to.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you guys want to touch on that we missed here for this last episode?
You know how you know you're evil?
Tell him, Kyle. Tell him, Kyle.
Is when you bring in innocent people and go, I hope I can use them as a shield.
True. That's very true.
She's like, bring in as many innocent people as you can. Surround me with them. So if she attacks me, they're all going to die.
We shouldn't skip over that. Cersei telling Euron that it's his child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting moment. What does that imply for Euron? What is that? Like that, obviously that gets him even more tied to her than before. But what is his game to play in this whole situation? I wonder. She is
totally Robert Baratheon in him.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, guess what? We're having a child. Nope, not yours at all.
Right.
She's doing it again. She is doing it again. Obviously, it's locking in his loyalty there. And because he sees the throne in his future, or at least his child's. So, I guess it's just securing that. I don't know. Is there anything else in play there that I'm not thinking of?
Yeah, just more of like, in essence, trying to keep him from killing her if he wanted to.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Like, because then there's what he thinks is their child, right?
Yeah.
And then also he will have more right and claim with the throne. So at least waiting until the child is born, instead of, right now, or maybe if Cersei wins the battle, takes her out.
She's going to be so mad when Euron takes the baby and to drown him like they do on the Iron Islands. Don't you dare touch my child.
She won't let that child go anywhere near the Iron Islands if she tries this whole thing. Hey, Matthew Fisher, yes, we all thought the episode was brilliant. Thanks for using all caps, because we couldn't get, using regular size letters probably messed you up there. This is all this thing. A lot of people think that this whole thing is going to end up with a surprise person on the throne. We'll see going into the next episode. A lot of people here saying, hey, remember, Tyrion is still a Lannister. That is going to come into play somehow as we go into this penultimate episode, and we'll see. I don't think there's anything else. I think we're good covering everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait till I can't believe there's only 2 episodes left.
I know, right?
2 episodes left.
There you go.
I'm going to be flying back from Houston at top speed for that finale. All right, Kyle, please let people know where they can find you and listen to your podcast, my friend.
Absolutely. You can find me at Kyle Maddock on Twitter, and you can listen to me at a podcast of Ice and Fire, which is APOIAF on Twitter as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Dennis?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. I also do a Game of Thrones podcast with Ashley B. Robinson called What the Throne. We usually air on Monday, so you can check it out there.
Yeah. And you can follow me at The Roke Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Listen, thanks to all the almost 9,000 of you who watched us live with this Thrones Talk episode, breaking down this episode, The Last of the Starks. Really appreciate you all joining us and having a little fun. Hopefully gave you something to think about. Some of you liked the episode, some of you didn't. That's been the standard all season, so no surprise on my end. But I agree with a lot of you. I don't think Cersei's pregnant at all. We'll see if that plays out in the next couple of episodes. That's my belief. I think she's lying through her teeth about it, and Qyburn's covering her, because without her, Qyburn would still be slumming it where he was slumming it before. So he owes her a big debt of gratitude. He's covering for her, I think, overall. So we'll see in the next couple of episodes how this all plays out. Join us next week. We'll do another breakdown of the 5th episode in the season 8 as we wind this whole series down. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your tweets. Thanks for everything you've done here to support the show. We'll see you next time. Remember to like and share this video on your social media and subscribe to Collider Video for more Game of Thrones videos and Thrones Talk coming your way soon. And thanks to Adam Smith.